Hello YouTube, EpicViolinGuy here with your fourth TI Basic Programming tutorial. Now, before I dive into today's lesson, I want to apologize for my kind of shoddy performance on the last video. I was kind of tired. If you looked at the time down here, it was getting a little bit late for me, but I'm energized. I have a little bit of caffeine in me. You know, I have a better setup, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some interesting stuff. I'm going to try to cram in a little bit more stuff into this tutorial in a little bit less space. I don't want another two-parter again, because that's just annoying. And plus, I'm running out of battery, so I'm going to go ahead and speed through this. I hope you have your calculator ready, and I hope you have your thinking caps on. Pardon me for the expression, and let's begin. So today, I want to present an overview on the CTL menu of your programming programming editor. So when you turn on your calculator, go to Program. There's our program from the last one. If you want to check out those videos, go ahead. So I'm going to make a new program. I'm just going to call this CTL, just because that's what we're testing out today. So CTL. Now, this is the text editor, as you probably know by now. And then if you hit Program again, the first menu is CTL. First of all, you have three menus. You have CTL, which is Program Control. You have IO for input and output, and EXEC if you want to execute another program as a subroutine. But we will hopefully get into that later. Now, today we're just going to focus on the CTL menu, and I'm going to briefly explain what each one of these commands does. Or what each one of these, yeah, that's right, what each one of these commands does. Okay, grammar. So first we have if. Now, if is for conditional statements. I will get to that in a later tutorial, perhaps next tutorial. So if is for basically if statements or conditional statements. Then is for, actually if, then, and else are all for conditional stuff, and end is used for that also. For creates a for loop, which is a type of looping mechanism, which I will explain what that means and what that does later. And while is another looping mechanism, but it works in a different way than for, and I will get into that later. And repeat is also a looping mechanism. It actually works in the opposite direction, or in the opposite way as while, but again I'll get into that later. And end is used with all three of these looping mechanisms. Pause will actually pause the program until you hit enter. Label creates a label or a reference in a certain line of your program that you can reference with the goto keyword, which is the next one on the list. So you have label and goto. I'll explain what those are. Actually, when I'm done overviewing, I'll just go ahead and explain what label and goto means. Now, let's see. Yeah. So is greater than parenthesis. That looks like a very weird statement. But what this means is increment, skip, greater than. Now what that means is it takes an argument of a variable and a conditional statement. Now, or something like that. I'll get into that a little bit later, but what this means is it will increment the variable, and then if that variable is greater than your test, then it will skip that next block of code. Otherwise, it will execute that block of code. And ds less than is decrement skip less than, which does the exact opposite thing as this. It will decrement the variable, and if it's less than the value that it's comparing to, then it will skip. Otherwise, it will execute the block of code. Menu is a very cool, user-friendly command, which will actually make it so you can create one of these types of menus, which is really useful. PRGM is the header or the prefix to your programs if you wanted to execute one. So if you notice that when I try to, if I want to execute CTL, which won't do anything because we haven't typed anything in it, it'll say PRGM and then CTL. And what PRGM is it designates CTL as a program and not just the value of C times the value of T times the value of L. Because if I did this, it would give me 0. Because C holds 0, T holds 0, and L holds 0. And 0 cubed is 0. And that's not what I want. I want program CTL. So you have to specify that, or else the calculator won't have any idea what you're talking about. Alright, so return. What return does is it returns from a subroutine. Now earlier I mentioned over here in exec, these can be used as subroutines, but if you notice, these are just the two programs that we've created. This is a list of programs that we have on this calculator. And you can actually, what this means basically is that you can execute a program within a program, and what return does is it will exit from that program that's within the program. It'll return to the program outside. It's kind of hard to explain. If you imagine Inception, this is kind of a funny example. If you imagine Inception, now you have the first level, which is your executing your what is it called? I guess I'm just going to call it your principal program. So you have your first level, which is your principal program, and then you can have a dream within a dream, which is a program within a program. And so if I'm running one thing called, if I have a program called hot dog stand, and within hot dog stand I have to have a program called grill, and a program called cashier, and a program called customer service, or something like that. Now, all those three programs are within the first program, which is hot dog stand. And so if I want to execute hot dog stand and then within that execute cashier, then when I'm done with executing cashier, I can put a return statement, and that will return from cashier back to its principal program, or back with the Inception example, from the dream within a dream, it will exit, or it will return from that second level back to the first level, or something like that. Leave in the comments below if I'm still confusing you guys, because I have a feeling that I'm not making any sense right now, no matter how much caffeine I have in my system. So stop will stop a program. That's simple enough. What differs it from return is that return will return the program flow from the subroutine into the principal program, or the program that contains the subroutine, and stop will just outright stop the program. Or it will, the manual says it stops execution, so it stops the calculator from executing any program that was commenced. Del var, let's see, yeah. So del var, this takes an argument of a variable, such as a string, or I think, yeah, letter variables work, or pics, or any type of data that you can store. You say del, and you can even use this for programs. I think I may be incorrect about that, but you use this keyword and then the variable, and what it will do is it will remove that it will remove that variable from memory. It won't permanently delete it, like you can still assign that variable to something, but it will delete anything that's in it. And then finally, graph style. This designates the graph style to be drawn, and what that means is, for example, if we look in our y equals menu, you see this line right here. You have your y1 equal sign, and then I can say x squared plus 5. x, oops, minus 1. So we have our function, we have our equal sign, it's highlighted, that means that there's something here, basically. And we have y1, and then we have this line right here. This says that I want you to draw this as a continuous graph with that thick of a line, and no shading or anything like that. And we can change this by pressing enter, like this will draw an extra thick line, this will shape upwards, this will shape downwards, this will make a continuous line, but it will draw it with a little oval. And finally, or not final, semi-finally, this will draw it continuously, but it won't leave behind a trail, it'll just show the orb, or the oval I should say, and this will draw a dotted graph. And so what graph style does is it takes an argument which basically means which one of those you want. And it also takes an argument for the y variable, or y1, y2, y3, all the way through y0 and y9, and it will turn that graph, or it'll make that graph in that type of style. So let me check how long I've been talking to you guys. 11 minutes. That's quite a long time. Man, time flies when we're having fun, huh? So I'm gonna go ahead and save. I knew I would. Excuse me. I know I told you that I would show you go to and label, but I'm going to go ahead and save that for the loops video. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple more videos demonstrating conditionals and loops, and that goes with conditional. I think that's what I'll do in the next couple videos or so. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. This is EpicViolinGuy signing off, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Let me get my screen recorder settings. There we go. Alright. Yep. There we are. Alright, later.